Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to part 10 of this Love Note series for the leader who doesn't want to admit she's actually leading. The key and final part of this entire series is your nervous system. Nervous system safety is the missing piece to your growth in your business, in your relationships, in your family, in your own personal life. And it's so important to be a grounded, unshakable woman and feel like you're a embodied leader. Now, is regulation meaning that you have to actually be steady, calm, cool, collected at all times? No. I'm going to de-influence and debunk you again, because if you haven't noticed, that's sort of my jam. A lot of times we're seeing regulation of a nervous system on a spectrum. So we're seeing like you need to have a regulated state, meaning calm, cool, and collected, to have a regulated nervous system. But regulated to me just means how resilient are you? Now, the nervous system states that we're talking about: fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And I want to challenge the way you perceive regulation. Because to me, that implies, again, consistency and basically you're flatlined. You don't have ups and downs. You don't get ever dysregulated. Here's the reality. Imagine yourself as a tree. Maybe you're a beautiful willow tree that has long flowing branches off of it. Okay, your nervous system is the trunk of that tree. And as a tree moves from side to side, windy in a storm, some of the branches might fall off, but every single time, no matter what, that comes back to the center. It comes back to the trunk of the tree. Your nervous system requires a level of resiliency rather than regulation, because that is the revolution that's going to change the way that we see the world we're in and how we show up for our partners, how we show up for our friends, our family, and how we most importantly show up for our business. Because every single time you go through change, your nervous system will get activated. And it's not always obvious. Sometimes it looks like overthinking and hyper-intellectualizing. Sometimes it looks like maybe pausing on a launch because you're having self-doubt. Sometimes it looks like running off on vacation instead of actually doing the promotions that you know you need. Sometimes it can look like busying yourself with everyone else's needs before your business. So in order to truly feel like that embodied leader you know you are capable of being deep down inside, your nervous system has to be on board with the vision of you know you're meant to be. So how do we get on board? How do we get the body to cooperate? How do we build more resiliency? In my opinion, it requires a level of proactive approach rather than reactive approach. And this is why every single time we meet live in She4We, I'm going to support you in a nervous system regulation practice, a somatic embodiment practice to help you connect your body once again. Because then you're going to go, oh, I'm freaking out. Where was that tool that I had that Rachele taught us in She4We? Right? I'm going to go to that tool then, as opposed to my survival strategy, which is my freeze response to doom scroll instead of actually post on social media, right? Because maybe there's a freeze response happening because I'm scared of success. Maybe there's a freeze response happening because I'm scared of abandonment if I get too much success. Maybe there's a freeze response because if I get more successful, that means I have more responsibility and more work. And I keep referencing freeze because freeze is the most common response that women have. The irony is that freeze sometimes can also feel like anxiety, and that's where it's confusing, because it can feel like you have the brakes and the gas pressed at the same time. And this is also called functional freeze, by the way. So if you're able to go through a life, but you're not actually feeling like you're making any progress, you're likely in survival mode, which is another term for functional freeze. I've been there many times in my life. Full transparency. But am I judging myself for not being regulated? Hell no. I know that in times of change and times of growth, it is uncomfortable. And leaders like you recognize that it's important to have people who have your back through the uncomfortable feeling of growth. Imagine if you were like that 2-year-old that was like, I'm too anxious about walking, so I'm just going to sit my whole life. Imagine if you were that 5-year-old that's like, I don't need to talk. I'm not going to get it perfect the first time, so instead of talking, I'm just going to stay silent. Children, evolutionary wise, naturally evolve, and this is where our nervous system gets developed as well in early childhood, and how we attune to our parents and how attuned to us they are really impacts how our nervous system feels on a regular basis. It impacts our baseline regulation. So if you didn't have a stable parent in your life growing up, especially in the early childhood years, like prior to 10 to 12 years old, your nervous system is going to be wired for survival. So it's going to always feel like that tree is kind of wobbly, 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 wobbly. It's going to have glimmers of stability because you've likely created that for yourself. But recognizing that it's possible to get into that coherent breathing, coherent breath, coherent heart rate, coherent voice. This level of calm is necessary for a woman who leads. I see so many women overgiving, overdoing, over pretending like she's okay. And then she comes to me with PCOS, endometriosis, extremely high cortisol that she can't seem to lower, thyroid issues, autoimmune conditions, all because her nervous system is operating from a place of burnout and fatigue because she thinks she's meant to operate in the way that helped her survive her childhood. So we can say thank you to that little kid in us that's controlling our subconscious and influencing our nervous system, and remind that child inside that we're safe. You're safe to succeed. You're safe to be seen. You're safe to be heard. It's also safe to be misunderstood. It's safe to not be for everyone. It's safe to thrive. It's safe to feel joy. It's safe to make more money than your parents. It's safe to even make more money than your partner. It's safe to be your authentic self. And I know that I'm saying a lot of words, but if you don't believe it, it's because maybe you and I need to do some nervous system work together to get your body on board with a new way of seeing the world and thinking about the world that you're in. Your nervous system is your compass, and it gives you clues of whether you're in alignment or not. By the way, this is also interconnected to human design in my approach as well. So if your nervous system is your compass, I like to also see it as like a little awareness tool, right? So, oh, I'm noticing I'm a bit dysregulated. My first question is, what's the unmet need in this moment right now? Or what's the belief I'm feeling about this moment right now? Or what's the fear that I'm feeling right now? Or what's the discomfort I'm feeling right now? And we name it. Now, if you don't have words for those things, you can also make sounds. You can also just go icky. You can also go, oh, I'm noticing a sensation in my chest and I don't know what to do with that. All is loved and accepted when you're working with me, because my benchmark of success is not perfection. And my benchmark of success is actually not regulation. It's when the storm hits, how long does it take for that tree within you to become still again? And you'll have moments where it can take days, and you'll have moments where it can take minutes, and you'll have moments where it can take months. None of it is wrong or bad, and none of it requires you to be healed and fixed in order to be of service like you know you're meant to be in this world. Hear me loud and clear. If you are of service, your life's work is going to be service to yourself. Because the more you grow and expand, the more you grow and expand your business, your impact, and the way that you can support the people that you support. And this will positively impact all relationships in your life as well. I had to come to terms with realizing that personal growth is going to just be a regular part of my business. There wasn't like a turning point where I'm like, I know myself and I'm done doing the growth work. I'm done and I'm quote unquote healed. I don't even love that term healed personally, because that implies that there's an ending to something. And the reality is, even my view on holistic health is it's about being proactively preventative as opposed to reactively responding. This is how, if you're that tree example again, you can see that the storm is coming, and instead of bracing yourself for, right, that holds a lot of tightness in the body, and go, oh, if the wind is coming from the east, then maybe I'm going to start swaying naturally to the east. And if the wind is coming from the west, maybe I'll start swaying there on my own. And we'll find a flow that feels better for my tree trunk, aka my nervous system. Thinking about the wellness tools you have in your life as tools and strategies for your continued expansion, and not thinking about it as a tool and strategy to fix you, save you, or heal you. All of that happens when you die. If you're done growing, you are no longer living. Think about that. If you are healed, you are complete. Your soul mission is complete. And then that means usually you leave your body. So if you are a growth-oriented person like I know that you are, I would invite you to observe your motivation behind everything that you do. And your key clue is my nervous system feeling activated by forcing myself into doing this breathwork course because that's what everyone tells me I should do in order to feel into my body, right? That breathwork course can help many people, but it might not be for you. Listen to your body and what your nervous system needs. And everyone is at a different pace in life, and there is no one-size-fits-all nervous system work. This is why if you go back to the different parts where I talk about masculine energetics and how strategy might not be the way forward, and how understanding what feminine leadership really truly is in human design, all of this is part of the journey of helping your nervous system feel resilient. And again, if you're a words person and you're like, Rachele, I don't like the word resilient because it implies that I have to always be perfect as well. It implies that there's something missing or wrong and I have to work hard to get somewhere. Find a word that resonates with you. Actually, I love that word. Nervous system resonance. Ooh, yeah. Nervous system resonance. Nervous system in your body is the indicator of something is shifting and changing. The people who feel nothing stay stuck. If you're stuck, you're likely also numb, which means we need to wake the body up gently and wake the nervous system up gently, because it's highly likely that you got stuck in that middle zone of mediocrity and safety, perceived safety, for a reason. So whether you're working one-on-one with me or whether you're a part of She for We, space is held for your nervous system always. In fact, many times inside She for We, I will intuitively pick up on someone's dysregulated state, and we will spontaneously go into the body. Because I follow my leaders, and I attune to their bodies. And I recognize that what was missing for me is what I love giving to other people. So if you've listened to Sovereign Heart, my podcast from the start, you might remember a little bit of my story where I talked to you about how at 2 years old, my sister was born, and I went from a consistent care from the adults in my life, my caregivers, to nothing, to a lot of inconsistency, to passed around by tons of different babysitters and aunts and uncles and grandparents. And that does a number on the nervous system, because who do I regulate to? Who do I attune to? Who calms me under the chaos and stress? Well, my mom's cortisol was through the roof because she had now had a daughter that could pass away at any moment. My dad's nervous system was in fight or flight mode, just trying to make enough money to get us through. So little girl Rachele learned that her coping strategy is I oscillate between all of them. My most dominant, I would say, is probably the freeze and the fawn growing up. And now it has shifted from freeze to flight. It's interesting because I observe my desire, right? My independent nature. I observe my desire to, instead of deal with the problem at hand, I just want to go, screw it, burn it all to the ground, and let's go on vacation and run away from it all. Personally, one of my biggest journeys in the last few years, well, actually in this basically from 2020, is how can I be steadfast in regulating my nervous system amongst the chaos that's around me. I wanted to quote unquote escape to Mexico and escape to Costa Rica, and many of my friends did. And I chose to stay. And it's hard because when I chose to stay, then I noticed my freeze response kick in and my survival strategies kick in. But here is the thing. When I overcame that by being with my body and connecting with the ups and downs of life, when I let myself feel my feelings fully and actually process them, my body had a level of trust in believing that I'm capable of doing anything. And this lesson keeps coming back time and time and time again of how can I be in the discomfort and stay rooted. Nervous system rooted. I love that terminology too. The visual of that of just my tree trunk has deep roots. I am grounded and secure in who I am and where I'm meant to be as a leader. That's what's possible for you. If you want to be amongst other leaders who get you, who see you, who are doing life, love, and business differently, who are unpacking the impacts of life and love on their business, I would love to have you as a member of She for We. Right now, we are opening the doors for 6 members to join us before October 3rd when we go live once again. I keep this cohort small because it's a container that is intimate so I can see you, speak to you, and create something that's going to support you in your growth. At the foundational price right now, it's going to go up after October 3rd, all right? So you get to be a part of the founding members' benefits and perks, which I would highly recommend for you to get on today, because the longer you wait, the sooner those doors might be closed for you to sign up. And let me tell you, the women in this container that are already here right now, who have been building the foundation with me, way more confident in who they are as women and as business owners, have found their voice, their brand, their vision, without me giving a ton of worksheets and strategies, by the way. They have rekindled relationships, friendships, and partnerships that help them really step into that sensual part of who they are. They have made some big, bold moves in their businesses and in their personal life, and they have proclaimed their biggest heart's desires. And every single time we meet, we're working towards that. What I love about our container especially is the majority of the intimacy is on my live group coaching calls. Yes, sometimes I run workshops, but most of the time we're open coaching. It's not traditional hot seat coaching either. Everyone usually gets a turn or everyone gets a say. We're going to rotate as we grow, but essentially, I'm not growing this group to a size that I can't actually handle speaking to every person every single time they show up. Telegram is a continued component where we meet online. It's an app where you can send voice notes and text messages. It is not the foundation of this group. One of the key things that I've observed is that we are on dopamine overload, which very quickly turns into, or sorry, not dopamine overload, dopamine, what's the opposite of overload? We're running on fumes with our dopamine fumes. And we're really on cortisol overload. So every time you get a notification on your phone, you're like, I have to respond to this. And it just gets overwhelming. And I've been a part of those communities where you're in a WhatsApp group with 200 people. It's overwhelming. The Telegram container is an added bonus where I will share with you voice notes that will inspire you in between the weeks that we meet. I will often share the reflections in our call, whether it's a piece of homework that we talked about. I will share with you, or actually I will arrange with you if we need to reschedule things in real time because you showing up matters to me. So we often do polls in there of the topics you want to discuss and the times that work for you to meet up. If I need to reschedule our usual 10:30 Pacific Standard Time on Fridays in the morning. And it's a place for you to connect with other women or ask questions in between each week. It is not, I'll tell you this right now, full of constant bing, bang, boom. The juice of this community is on our live calls, and we meet every other week for 2 hours of a deep dive into what's going on in your heart, what's going on in your body, what's happening in your health, what's happening in your human design, what's happening in your relationships, and how is that impacting how you show up for your business, how you show up in the world, and how you're showing up as a leader. I strongly encourage you to take a look at the sales page if you haven't yet. And this is my honest and open invitation for you. If you vibe with being a bit of a rebel in this world, if you don't fit traditional marketing bro business groups or the boss babe popular girls container, you're weird and you're imperfect is perfect here. We welcome you inside She for We. Thank you so much for listening to this series, and I want to send you so much love from my heart to yours.